Carl here from games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And it's album review time as we're taking a look at Thos, the new record from Conjurer, where the future of British heavy metal lies in very safe hands with this band, continuing their journey as, let's be honest, the country's most exciting young metal band. It is Thos, released 1st of July via Nuclear Blast. But first things first, it is incredible that it's been 4 years since Conjurer emerged on the scene with their incredible debut album, Maya. At times, it has felt like we've been waiting forever for new Conjurer music, especially when Maya exploded as it did and the band's rise turned out to be nothing short of phenomenal. Well, here we are. The wait is finally over. Would Thos Conjurer have the opportunity to show that not only was Maya the start of their journey, but they've also learned so much along the way already. Now you'll find there are loads of extensive platitudes thrown about whenever Conjurer's name comes up, and it is very easy to be cynical when you see things like future of metal and next big thing being bandied about. It's not like we haven't seen and heard those exact same words used for countless bands before. It's not something that I can really blame anyone for being particularly cynical about. However, cynicism stops once Conjurer is heard, I believe. Maya was the starter. Thos, it is the main course. We don't think it's hyperbole to not only agree with the words of many other outlets who have used hyperbole to describe Conjurer, but to suggest that Thos is the proof, proving it once and for all. You know, those doubters who maybe didn't quite like Maya as much as, say, another person. Thos is that answer. Conjurer have done the absolute impossible here. They've made a better album than Maya. Thos comfortably sits at the top in a year of what has been stellar releases. Not only because Conjurer are so good at what they do, but because this album features an extensive and extravagant amount of creativity. This is not Maya Part 2, but it is a Conjurer album. Thos begins with It Dwells, and immediately Conjurer set the bar high with a track that has the blistering heaviness that the band do so well. However, it's also an evolving piece that features more melody, post-like elements, and an unrelenting drive to drag you as far down into the depths of darkness as possible. Depths that then get even darker and even deeper on what is the most miserable and most grotesque song Conjurer have unleashed to date. You know what I'm talking about here. Talking about the lumbering, progressively tinged beast that is Rot. A track that will leave you feeling sickly and cold, but in complete adoration of what Conjurer have created here. Rot's a special track. I personally think it's one of my favourite they've ever done. If you had any doubts about Conjurer going into Thos, those will have been well and truly exorcised. Those demons will have been well and truly eliminated with the very first two offerings. All you will remember is a very special track where subtle melody rings out disconcertingly. Expecting a heavy eruption? Can't blame me for thinking it was coming, but that's not quite what happens, even if the instruments do come crashing in. Instead though, it stays quite melodic as we get kind of clean singing and a really interesting eerie drop in tempo before things really heavy up and Conjurer get more guttural. Yet even then, the focus is still on cleaner guitars, resulting in, I think, one of the more unique Conjurer tracks ever heard. As it goes on, there's so many more surprises to unearth, surprises such as a spoken word segment. That's a tough track to follow, but this is Conjurer, and you have the likes of Basilic and Those Years Condemned in their arsenal. Two more momentous listens, the former in particular as one of Conjurer's heaviest finales ever heard, whereas the latter is pure gurning ordered chaos. Delightful stuff overall. Then we have the likes of Suffer Alone, a short track by Conjurer's standards, and a track that is all about speed, akin to a searing jolt to the brain. It's a blistering showcase of Conjurer's abilities, kept quite tight and concise. Followed then by the cloying darkness and suffocating intensity of In Your Wake. Conjurer slowing the tempo down for something weird, doomier tones, but sneaking in those cleaner guitar melodies here and there. Ultimately though, delivering another slice of unique, uncategorizable, evolved and compelling music. All words that can apply to the massive finale of Cracks in the Pyre, a track that is undoubtedly Conjurer's most unique track, not just on this album, but that they produced to date. Unique because it is one of the most emotionally captivating, most heartfelt and passionate, most structurally different and eccentrically driven. A track that, when you hear it, could only ever have gone at the end of the album, and is simply the cherry on top of what is undeniably the best album you will hear this year. Big claim there from me, but I believe it. I believe so strongly in this album, and I think Conjurer can be so proud, immensely proud of what they have produced here. An album that only gets better and better the more you listen to it and the more you pick it apart. In years to come, when Conjurer are headlining arenas and festivals around the world, thos, it will be looked at, be remembered as the point where the Conjurer train picked up so much speed that there was no choice but to hold on for dear life and enjoy the intense ride. Here's the thing. I think thos is more accessible than anything Conjurer done before because it's got so many new elements that develop their sound. Yes, it can be incredibly heavy, incredibly intense, incredibly brutal, but it can also be incredibly light, incredibly moving, incredibly melodic. And these are the elements in the mix of the two that Conjurer are really doing better than they've ever done before on this album. The production job is fantastic. You really get that really crisp and clear sound throughout the entire album. You've seen the videos for the singles. There's some great work going on. Everything is basically combining to make this the eye of the storm if you want. This is Conjurer's moment, and I feel like they've gone so far already in such a short amount of time. There seems to be no limit to this band's abilities. I love thos. For me, even though at the time of recording it is the end of June 2022, and I've listened to some absolutely amazing works this year, I just don't see anything being thos. For me, it's the album of the year. But I'd love to know what you think. Nuclear Blast on the 1st of July. You'll be able to check it out pretty soon in a couple of days. Make sure you do. Come back, let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, and of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?